watch Quinn. Did Quinn's channel get shut down? I feel like I went to go see where he was at, and then I could only find his art channel. Did he cause too much ruckus with his time phone hack? I don't know. In terms of defense against some of these sort of highly advanced technological weaponry that everyone deals with moment to moment, whether or not they know about it, there are a variety of forms, but the main idea is always to find hooks within the consciousness, and it always still requires your consent. It requires some sort of energetic consent. And it's mainly about you and your body, you and your mind, and claiming that that's yours. So they come as sort of invitations, and most of them are backwards invitations because they're fear-loaded invitations. The things, if you accept the invitation, would like to track your conscious pattern. And piggyback on there like, you know, someone's riding a horse or something. But once the invitation has been accepted, many times via sort of manufactured consent, because no matter who's doing what, they're still following the laws of the natural universe. Even down however many levels the thing has been simulated or phantomized abstract further away from the center. And then, of course, each person's individual mind is weighing this sort of energetic input that comes in the form of a negative invitation. And it happens very quickly. Like, if you haven't been doing your work and you're not very present, then you don't even notice it. Because your consciousness is fluctuating. Too fast for the linear perception to even really conceive of. But the more you sink into yourself, into your center of being, you notice every little hairline fluctuation that happens faster. Like, this is a dumbed down version of the speed of consciousness. The speed of consciousness is faster than all possible perception. But at the same time, that speed is operating within you. And if you're attentive, and if you've been doing your self-work and your meditation, then you see each and every little hairline fluctuation. And then you see the invitations. You see the negative invitations. And the way you refuse is you dance around them. Or you incorporate them into the dance as a sort of neutral prop. Something like that. And then instead of going down the entrainment hook invitation, you're like, oh, I'm still present. It's still fine. And that's partially what we're learning here, is that anything that's taking you away from the present in whatever form can, not necessarily has to be, but can be seen as some sort of an attack or a negative entrainment invitation. And the ones that are relying on technology have to, by virtue of what technology is, they have to have this system that takes time to analyze the information input. And that automatically lags that system outside of the present moment. So no matter how good the technology has become, this little tiny, even if the thing has become quantum and nearly as fast as consciousness itself, all the way up to the edge, it's still relying on a backlogging information processing time, which nudges it out of that center of the present awareness and puts it at a disadvantage if it's trying to fight or somehow co-opt consciousness itself or the existence. If somebody using the ego perception came up with the idea like, oh, I'm gonna control everything somehow, and then they have this thought stream that pushes them out of the present, even if they applied a bunch of technology to it, it's still too slow. And it's also incorrect. And so you, as the individual sovereign being that you are, you have the opportunity to look at yourself, to observe yourself, which includes all of the sounds around you, all of the noises outside, all of the noises in your head, all of the thoughts, the entire thought stream, and all of those coming together as your you, your center. that we see outwardly manifested in this particular realm, as far as the stuff that doesn't make any sense, like the things that, say, Matt bangs his head up on and tries to rationalize it and figure, like, why? How is this even possible? Because he goes into it and he looks into the underlying logic and the clues, like hidden in plain sight type stuff with all of the false flags and whatnot. And he thinks, well, he goes into the conceptual mind as an element that's going to tell him why this is possible. So he's caught in between that doublespeak that has been filtered out into the quantum realm of the mind. And if you do that, you can get stuck in there and you can end up talking about the same thing. So again, you got to work on yourself. You got to find out who you are, what are your capabilities. Find if you can remain playful even in the darkest of situations. How creative can you be? How creative can you be in these instances where things are happening on a quantum, lightning fast, beyond perceptual level, and you're operating in the linear, slow, delayed level, but you're still connected to that quantum aspect, which is where the games are played. They're played there, and then all of that entangles itself together, and what you are doing on the other levels of yourself, which you are not aware of in this form, that all comes together and determines what spills out into this 3D phenomenal plane. And you're navigating it by the subtleties, the beyond subtleties, feelings. You're not navigating it by making plans. Again, plans are fine, but keep them quiet internally. You can even make it like a game. Like, if I have a plan that's gonna take me to somewhere else on the physical landscape, how can I have that be carried out and yet keep it as quiet as possible? And you'll discover aspects of yourself that you had no clue. You didn't know were possible. Biblical saying that says you were never given more than you can bear, maybe right up to that point, maybe up to the point of you having a panic attack, maybe up to the point of you having body tremors and tremendous energy screaming through. That is correct, because no matter what an individual part of the thing is attempting to do out of selfishness or out of fear, which are the same thing, and no matter how devious it gets, the system is still balanced. So even if you're undergoing one of these attacks, You don't know the origin, you don't know how it's happening, you don't know where it's coming from, you don't know what to do about it. If you sink into your moment and trust that if you were to conceptualize the thought train out and physically maybe go find out how these things are happening, go talk to people, find out how they're happening, you would find out all of this stuff. You'd find out how the sides, up and down the levels, were battling to keep your integrity in that moment. And that goes back to simple trust. And it's not simple if you're getting in there with trying to conceptualize it. That becomes you trying to make the universe, you trying to be God from this non-God level. This is not the God level. This is the stepped down distorted level. It's distorted in terms of understanding if you're conceptualizing. If you give in with trust and feel your intent, live that, vibrate that out, then all assistance will be given you automatically. Sometimes a bit shakily, sometimes in odd fashions. Sometimes rescues are happening in the nick of time where you're like, oh, that's it. But it always comes one way or another. And as information comes out speaking on the sort of depth of how far and how deep these systems go, if you go into that knowledge base, which is slowly being revealed, with the basic understanding that it's far deeper and far more complex than this particular body-mind can get, then as information comes out, as more awareness flows through, as waves are pulsated through the realm to give people what they need, you won't have to rely on conceptual understanding to get it, to accept it. Hope you're all doing well out in your quantum clouds. Peace.